My first barber was my father. He'd gather me and my older brothers up and turn our poor childhood kitchen into a barbershop. There was no elegance to it. Just a South Philly row home that reeked of Coors Light and a #1 all the way around. Back then, I didn't know that a fresh face and brand new leg can build confidence, or how much a lineup can help me hold my head high, but there's beauty in transformation. And there was swag in how I felt. As a child, I remember walking in my class with the hood up because I wanted to surprise my childhood crush with my brand new look. So I credit my cut for the kisses I got in middle school, for being able to run faster on playgrounds, for getting me through foster care without being picked on. We used to go to Kim's, and as corny as they were, her $5 cuts made us feel wealthy in our image. I can still smell the nail polish and feel the grip they had on my head, although they weren't the best, and made us feel good enough to sneak out of my grandma's home with spare change as if their chairs were our salvation. My hair is a history I can't forget, something I can't go without. The hands that touch my head have stories of heartbreak, pain, joy, all while trying to earn a living. At one point, I changed barbershops like foster homes, trying to find anything that felt comfortable, and eventually I did. And I've been more loyal than some of the relationships I've been in. What we have is sacred. My barber knows CPR, can bring me back to life with the stroke of a brush. A magician can make my headscarf vanish without a trace. A therapist, carrying the weight of neighborhood trauma on his apron while still carrying his own, ignoring the shake in his hand to get my shit straight. My barber is a wizard. He allows me to time travel to a place where my fade fades any self-doubt into black, where joy fills the room like an orchestra of belly laughs, where the sound of clippers turning on and off is the perfect symphony, a remedy to a man's stress, a cure for the overthinker. He makes me feel invincible. And when it's all said and done, I'm ready to take on the world. I feel like a lot of times in life, we have these things that are like embedded in our mind, and for me, like, I'm obsessed with like time travel. The idea of time travel. I can always associate a part or a piece of my life that has something to do with the past based on where I was, and it's almost like a time capsule. In my mind, in my head, a barbershop is one of those places, right? I went to Kim's, and I could smell the nail polish. I can feel his head grip. This barber had a long pinky nail, and he'd like bash it into my head. And sometimes I can feel it. And at that time, me and my parents and my siblings were going through something. And I jumped to a different barbershop that reminded me of, nappy fades. They had a basketball court, and it was a little bit more comfortable. And at that time in my life, things were going a little bit better. So I always associate the barbershop with pieces in my history, and that's something like I always like fall back to whenever like I'm feeling down, or whenever like I'm in a time of need. I call my barber and we pick up the conversation right where we left off, whether that be 5 years ago or 2 weeks ago. There's a 6-year-old version of myself who knows nothing of the world. Innocent smile, corruption pushed in back of mind and replaced with benefit of the doubt. He can't seem to figure out why strangers knock on his door asking for his parents, but he's innocent. That's the important part. There's a 7-year-old version of myself thinking about the times he searched for his mom at truck stops and places when nights looked like point of no return, begging for her to not ignore his innocence, begging to not feel like the reason she doesn't come home ever again. There's an 8-year-old version of myself sitting with his twin sister on our birthday, staring at a closed door with hopes that our parents come walking from the other side. We want to run into their arms, and they just want to run away. There's a 9-year-old version of myself still figuring out what it's like to not sleep under the same roof as his parents. 3 years in foster care and waiting to understand what the word guardian means. The definition never allowed us to feel any more or less protected from the world. There's a 10-year-old version of me learning what it's like to hustle. When they feed us scraps, I ask shoppers to help with their bags so I can make them feel full like the king and queen I know they are. I used to associate going hungry with being unloved. Ask my brother and sister. I'd skateboard into their stomachs, make my way to their heart just to see them smile. There's a 12-year-old me that can't get his sister scream out his head, who doesn't want to remember his father being gone, and doesn't want to accept that he's never coming back. I like to think of him as the boy who thinks heaven has gone fishing. My dad shared my brother's name, So my mom cried out of confusion, but I know half her heart went missing that day. My 13-year-old self can vouch for me. My mom always followed in his footsteps. It's a shame they wouldn't share the same grave, but they should be together. And I've also learned that I don't like fishing. It reminds me of them and the hugs that my 16-year-old self wouldn't remember much. In an effort to never forget, I'd write on the same pages I'd burn. Used to use poems as armor. Used to still be afraid of the dark and the silence and the thoughts that came with it, but time flies. Sis tells me God is always with me. I feel him, but not really, but always felt he was there, but couldn't see him. He allows me to be confused, but she assures me he still loves me, and pretty soon I'm 21 and on the verge of a nervous breakdown. There's a gap in my history so wide, it's starting to push any memory of my relatives out of the picture frame. Now, it's stock photos and hopelessness, but my gift still lingers. But I shouldn't have it. I should have family dinners and vacations instead. Stories and laughters in its place. I carry hurt when they don't see it. I say the prayers they don't see. I say the prayers they don't hear. I'm 22 seconds from hating another birthday. 23 reasons on why I feel like giving up. I told Jay my feet hurt. He might think it's from walking, but I know it's not from wanting to go any further. Because things disappear in the distance, 24 hours in a day, and soon I'm 25 visiting graves on Mother's Day, having conversations with tombstones. Almost feels like I'm talking to myself again. There's some comfort in all the craziness. As tornado as my life seems, I find peace in the eye of the storm. It allows me to grow, transforming my chaos into a cure for everything I've been through. I'm 28 years young, still standing, still striving, still alive, not afraid of the dark, brave enough to let light in, still a father, making sure my kids know I'm coming home from any door I shut. I'm coming from the other side of any door I shut. I've learned to love, to not ask for much, because in this life, I have all I need to be free. I wrote my first poem in like 8th grade, and like at that time, like my parents passed away, right? And the first time I performed was at their funeral, and I was a journal writer. One of the guys came up to me, he's like, keep going. And then I was in Congresso, like freedom schools, and me and the director would sit and write poems, and he told me this one thing that was the craziest shit ever, and it's actually like very true. As an artist, right, when you do one thing, there's always windows, right? So at first I was a journal entry, window open. Now I'm a poet, right? Window open, spoken word artist, window open. Now I want to do theater, right? Theater turns into comedy, comedy turns into storytelling, and that's been like how I live by. It's helped me, you know what I mean? It's helped me with talking to people. It's helped me with job interviews. And one of the ways I would like for it to grow more is because after all this art is said and done, I'm seeing it in a way where it's like, I think I like that artist. I kind of want to do a show with them. And now I'm putting shows together. And, you know, hopefully shows become festivals. And so those, that small little olive branch where it's like, you start here, you end up all the way over there because you're constantly going through these windows till you get to where you have to be. And that never stops. It gets passed down from generation to generation, you know? So, yeah.